Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Aisha Nazir. Welcome to the series of Operation of Computer Hardware. This is the 7th lecture of COA, Computer Organization and Architecture. So in the previous lecture we were discussing different parts of processor. Basically the processor divided into two parts. The first one is the ALU, that is arithmetic logic unit, and the second one is CU, that is control unit. Arithmetic logic unit is used to perform arithmetic and logical operations, while the CU is basically a carrier of instruction and giving it to the ALU to perform the operations on that according to that instructions. So these are the parts of processor. But why the processor is so expensive? What are the factors? What are the reasons that the cost of processor is so high? Let's see. So why processors are so expensive? Let's see. CPU will be more expensive, occupy more space in the CPU and produces more heat when it performs complex calculation. It means that when the ALU performs complex calculations, then it will produce more heat. It will occupy more space in memory. Ultimately, the processor will become very expensive. That's the reasons engineers make CPU so powerful to support ALU to perform complex calculation in affordable prices. This is why faster CPUs are more expensive, because they occupy more space, they produces more heat, and they perform complex calculations. That's why they are more expensive and consume more power and dissipate more heat. So what are the different types of computing circuits? CPU is an essential building block of many types of computing circuits, including CPU, that's central processing unit, floating point unit, that is FPUs, which operates on floating point numbers, GPUs, that graphical processing units. So a single CPU, FPU or GPU may contain one or multiple ALUs according to the requirement to perform complex tasks. So what are the different states of ALU? As we have studied earlier, that control units takes data from the memory, from the registers. So the first state of ALU would be your input state. After that, when it is performing operations on those instructions, then it will be in operational state. And when it performed all the operations, then it stores the data back into the memory. Then it would be the output state. So how the ALU behave in different states? So let's explore. ALU use digital signals for input and output between the ALU and the external circuitry. When an ALU is in working state, external circuits put on signals to the ALU inputs. In response, the ALU produces and conveys signals to external circuitry via its output. As you can see, these are the instructions which is in the binary form. A basic ALU has 3 parallel data buses. So you can see that here are the 3 parallel databases that are consisting of input operands like A and B and a results output Y. Each data bus is a group of signals that conveys one binary digital number, that conveys only one binary digital number. Typically, the A, B and Y bus width, the number of signals which each bus have, are identical, are same, and match the native word size, that is a fixed length word that processor deals as a single unit of the external circuitry. There are few points in this slide to notice that. Number one is that ALU use digital signals for input and output between the ALU and external circuitry. It means it communicates via digital signals between the ALU and external circuits. The second point, when ALU is in working state, then the external circuits sends data, sends signals on the ALU input. ALU receives that signals and perform operations according to the signals, according to the buses that contains the instructions, and then ALU produces and conveys signals back to the external circuitry via its producing output, and the output sends to the external circuitry. So number 3, normally a single ALU has 3 parallel data buses. One contains one operand, second contains second operand, and the third one contains the results. As you can see that in the given picture, the first bus contains the operand A value, the second bus contains the value B, while the third bus contains the output of operation performed on A and B. Number 4, each data bus is a group of signals. It's not only single signal, it's a group of signals that conveys only one binary integer number. And the last one is usually A, B and Y bus. As we have discussed, we have 3 parallel buses. So all these 3 buses have the same width, have the same size, that matches to the word that is given by the external circuit. The output which produced by the ALU is the same as the word given by the external circuitry. So what is external circuitry? We are discussing it external circuitry. So what it is, basically its external circuitry can be other processors or other CPUs that sends data to the ALU. So the opcode means the symbol that we used between the 2 operands. So the opcode input is a parallel bus that conveys to the ALU an operation selection code, means what type of operation it has to perform. Either it has to add 2 numbers or it has to multiply 2 numbers. This defines by the opcode. So which is an enumerated value that specifies the desired arithmetic or logic operation to be performed by the ALU. The opcode size, it means the bus width, determines the maximum number of different operations the ALU can perform. For example, if you have a 4-bit opcode, it can specify up to 16 different ALU operations. As 4 raised to power 2, it becomes the 16 because there are 2 bits, 0 and 1. As you can see, here are 4-bit bus that can perform 16 different ALU operations. So this was the operational state of ALU. The next state is, after performing the operation, how it produces the output state. So an ALU would be an output state. Basically, output shows by various individual signals that convey additional information about the results of the current ALU operation. It means that when the ALU produces the results, it sends signals that provides the additional information about the results about the ALU operation. General purpose ALUs have following status signals such as carry out, which conveys the carry resulting from an addition operation when we perform addition operation and we carry some results. Borrow resulting from a subtraction operation when we borrow some value while performing the subtraction operation. Third one is overflow bit resulting from a binary shift operation. The second one is 0, which indicates all bits of y, means the output are 0. Negative, result of an arithmetic operation is negative. Then we use the negative status signal. Overflow signal has exceeded from the numeric range of y. It means the result is overflow from the given range. Parity, it shows results as an even or odd number of bits in y. If the y means the result output is an even number or odd numbers, then we show the parity signals. At the end of each ALU operation, the status output signals are stored in external registers so that they make available for future ALU operations. So these are all 5 types of signals that are sent with the output results to give the additional information about the output. So, the first and primitive state of ALU is input state. We have discussed the operational state, output state. Now the third one is, or you can say the first one which we are discussing in the last, is the input state. So providing additional information to complete the operation performed by the ALU is input status responsibility. Typically, this is a single carry-in bit, that is the stored carry-out from a previous ALU operation. It means that when ALU perform an operation, its results are saved through the carry-out signals. So, the other bit, the carry-in, will take additional information from the carry-out, that is the result of the previous operation. So the output of previous operation would be the input of the new operation. So this is known as the input state. So these are all the 3 states of ALU. The first one is the input state, in which the previous operation output would be the new operations input that show by the carry in and carry out signals. Second one was the operational state, in which 3 parallel buses were used to show the input, output and result, and the opcode specifies which type of operation we have to perform. The total length of the opcode defines how many operations we can perform. For example, a 4-bit length opcode determines that we can perform 16 different calculations, 16 different operations on the input values A and B. And the third one was the output state, in which we use different signals to give the additional information about the result generated by the ALU. So this is all about the today's lecture. Thank you very much.